Right, so this month's theme is boats and coastal scenes, so that could cover lots of different things. So I've got to just do a little bit about painting water today, so I'm going to use more the waves in the background rather than this particular picture. So I do that as a demo, and then next week I'll do a little session on drawing skills, so drawing boats in particular. That's for next week. I thought I'd start with a little bit of painting, just to shake it up a bit. The other things I mentioned last week that I'm going to get some bits and bobs from sea white, which somebody sometimes use the materials. So I get things like boards and paper palettes and sometimes bits and bobs. So if anybody wants anything ordering, have a look in there. And I will try and get an order up by the end of the week, hopefully. Right, so something like this, working with, I thought I'd just use acrylics today because I haven't used them for a long while and they're actually drying up quite a bit, so I really need to use them. So I'll just do a little bit around this area here. So it might help to just sketch out a few shapes to start with. So I'm thinking this bit here, this where the wave's breaking, that's going to be quite light. And then we've got another wave coming in here. There, and a little bit. Yeah, and then the edge of the beach here. So pastel pencil is quite good for this. You can wipe it out very easily. Then what I would then do is probably go in with perhaps a mid-tone colour. So this was taken on Lee Beach a long time ago, but it's obviously a very bright blue sky, and the water is reflecting a lot of that blue. So you've got a lot of kind of blues and lilac-y colours in there. So I'm going to mix something. Well, I've started mix. I was drying out, so I'm going to start again. In this weather, acrylics are going to dry very, very quickly. To be honest, I think the oils are much easier, but I know a lot of you like the acrylics. So an atomizer spray is handy just for keeping your paints a little bit damp or your palette. And then I'm going to mix a nice lilac-y colour. I've got a little bit of purple there, and just a tiny bit of green to stop it being too brighter lilac, and then some white. So the green sort of softens it a little bit. So that can be some of this light colour here. Pop some of that in between here. And where I can, I try and use a reasonable sized brush and plenty of paint. I see some of you hardly putting any paint out. Don't want you to waste paint, but at the same time you need enough paint to come out. So this bit would be where the beach would be. So I'll just get another brush for that and just make something like a sandy colour. Got a little bit of yellow ochre there. Which again is going to be too bright on its own. So actually just a tiny bit of the lilac mixed in, I think, would soften that a little bit. Yeah. Otherwise you can have a very bright yellow beach, which would feel a bit too much. That's going to be something like that. And then when the water meets the sand, it often goes a little bit darker. So just here, you get this darker edge. Just add a little bit of brown to the mix, just to make that a little bit darker. So that will be just here. Actually, that's kind of drying already, but in a way that just scumbling the paint on, just kind of scrub it on like that, it gives you a slightly softer feel to it. And keep that wet. So again, with acrylics, don't let it dry on your brushes. In fact, it's probably a good idea to, if you're picking up a brush, drop it in some water before, just to dampen it, and then pick up the paint. Otherwise you'll find it will dry, so you'll get a drying line. So that can be that bit. And then we've got some nice deep shadows, or greeny shadows. So a little bit of green and a little bit of brown in with the mix. So the brown I'm using is, I think that is burnt sienna. So like a nice reddy, rusty brown. So just under here we've got some sort of shadows where the wave's breaking, and a little bit just under here. And then in the background there are, not quite so dark, so I'll just lighten this up. There's a few bits of sort of breaking waves. A little bit of blue, something like that. So I can just darken that a little bit. And just sort of touching the surface, just trying to get that sense of the waves in the distance. Brush. And then when we got this breaking wave, we've got this foam. So to start with, I don't want it pure white. I just want to kind of go just a tiny bit darker. So I'll use some white and just a tiny bit of just want to make it an off-white, a little bit of a grey, or a bit of yellow ochre, just something just to tone it down a tiny bit. I'll go with the yellow, that's quite nice. A little bit more grey. And then we're sort of just dragging that across the surface, so it's picking up the texture of the board a little bit. And the same here. And this bit will be the shadow of the wave, so I've kind of got that in early. And then just there, stops, little paint. And that's, and just sort of softening the front edge, just to get the feeling like it's kind of curling over. There. And then for the brightest bits, just a little bit of pure white, just highlight, so that you've got a slight subtle difference between the very top where the light is catching on it, and then where it starts to go into shadow. The other thing you've got is a little bit of foam here. So again, just want to go slightly darker. And that will be just in here. The other thing you can do, we've got little bits of sort of foam and sparkle. Up a few dots just with the end of the brush like that, so it's almost just stippling. That's probably a little bit too big, or you could flick some paint, that's the other option. So this would give you a bit more control as to where they're going to go, but the trouble is it can get a bit big. Yeah, the other option is slightly watery paint. Try this, and just kind of doing that sort of thing. So that's probably a bit live there. Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, get sort of painty fingers. So that's with the acrylics. And the other option would be to maybe underpaint with acrylics. acrylics, and then where you want to slow down and put these details in, perhaps use oils if you've got oils as well. I'm trying to try that. Yeah, it is drying very, very quickly. Any questions?
Very good.
Yeah, so then next week I'll do a little bit on the sort of drawing aspect, drawing both, and perhaps over the next couple of weeks we'll combine the different ideas. And has anybody got any requests for anything you'd like me to cover?
A bit more on pastel?
On pastels? Yeah, I could do some pastel. Yeah, we can try that. Yeah.
Some trees.
Trees, yeah. Okay, coastal trees, yeah. Trees,
Palm
yeah.
trees.
Sorry?
Palm trees.
Palm trees. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some places where it's not
South
trees.
They
Yeah,
used to be
yeah.
palm trees.
Okay,
There are-
yep, that's a new idea. I'm trying to do something. Yes, that's got trees. Yeah, the place in Norfolk's got lovely pines. Yeah. Okay, yep.
Do this and all that.